Right. Well, hello, welcome once again to Pale Blooms and Beyond. Thank you for joining us today. If you do like the programming you're viewing here, and you do like the musicians and artists that I talk with, please hit the like button below and also subscribe to the channel. Mick Orton is an American bassist, keyboardist, guitarist, singer, and songwriter. Early on, Mick had cut his teeth musically playing for local Iowan bands until the call came to join the band The Contents Are in the late 60s. An old acquaintance would resurface and in need of a bassist would invite Mr. Orton to join his band, Silver Laughter. The band would release an album in '76 and a second in 1978, along with several singles. Then came stints in the duo Double Shot and a new wave band, The Secrets. And when the music opportunities dried up, Mick worked in computers and networks for a time. In 2014 came a watershed moment when Silver Laughter was inducted into the Iowa Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Mick played the induction concert and not long after recruited new members, now christened the Silvers. Since that time, there have been several Silvers albums, EPs, and singles, along with animated videos. And the Silvers, with a few lineup changes, are still going strong to this date. Well, welcome, Mick.
Hello.
Thank you for taking time out to visit with me today. Well,
you bet.
Take us back to the beginning. Where were you born?
Davenport, Iowa.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Do you have fond childhood memories as far as do you remember hearing music in the household early on?
Well, kind of early on, all the kids in my grade school were listening to the Mighty Jungle. What is it? In the jungle, the mighty jungle,
yes,
the lion sleeps tonight. That was
right.
the big hit that time. And so I started listening to transistor radio and got into Neil Sedaka and a bunch of those really bad old groups. And yeah, that's kind of how it started. So I was playing piano. I took piano lessons. I think I wrote you and told you that I was taking piano lessons, and my piano teacher finally invited my mom to come and watch me play. And I played my piece, and my mom, that sounded pretty good. And the teacher goes, that's not what's on the sheet music. And so what the problem was, I didn't want to read music. I want to play music, hear music. So yeah, it got to be, well, that was the end of the piano lessons.
you were ad-libbing too much there.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
A little bit there. Yeah, I remember listening to the transistor too, and hearing 69, and I would be in my bedroom and my parents would come and turn down a little bit, and then they come back in a few minutes later. We can still hear it. I can turn it down, and still hearing it under the pillow with my head under the pillow. Well, what was the first musical instrument you learned to play?
Well, piano. I mean, I play piano by ear.
Okay.
And I've always kind of had a music idea mathematically, changing, going to different keys. It was still mathematical that 1/5 would still be, G to D, and C, it would be C to G, and so I kind of always had that in my back of my head. The first group I think I mentioned was the band with John Ludke in Davenport. We had a bunch of different stupid names like Duffy England and Assassination of Sound. And, we did a whole bunch of different takeoffs on that with different people rotating in and out. And so finally, John and I had a little bit of a beef, and I went and met with Tom Kelly, and we had a band called Todd Beat Group. Yes. And it was T for Tom, O for Orton, D for Dennis, and the other one was Dunlap, I think. So, rode around with one of those stickers on the side of the car, that had the, the magnetic sign.
You had a sign that you put on the car, yeah.
Yeah.
Going back just a bit, recount the story of playing in the gym auditorium with the PA system.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah, West High School. I was. We got invited to play for what they called a pep odd. It was pep odd for auditorium.
Okay.
And so we got up on stage and we played. And I don't even know how the other guys got in because they were too young to be there, but they must have gotten out of school or something. So we played this song by the Moby Grape. I don't know if you remember them. It was one of our very popular groups, and we did a song called Omaha. Okay. And I mean, the sound was bouncing off the walls of the gymnasium, and it was all echoey. And our sound system was this horn, and so everything sounded like this. And I don't know. Everybody goes, "I like your fuzz tone on your vocals." There. So yeah, that was one of those things where they applauded no matter what, so just to get out of class, right? So
Right. It
it was
sounded like
fun to
one of
do.
the like a Rudy Valley. It sounded like, Warner used to use that megaphone thing.
Yeah, yeah. And the guy that sold us those horns is
Uh-huh.
Ken Wiles, who shows up later in my story when the
Oh,
Silver Laughter comes around. So
okay. So you
yeah.
guys were going for that sound. Well, how did you come to audition for the Contents of
I was with Todd B Group. We were playing. I don't know how they got my name because they had recorded an album, Contents Are, recorded an album called Through You. And their bass player, Larry Smith, decided he was going to go. They still had jobs lined up, so they wanted to get back playing quickly. And so they had me audition. I must have looked 12 years old at the time. I looked really young, but they got me in the band. I showed them what I could do on bass, and they said, and vocals, and they said, well, yeah, let's do it. You're in the band. So we went and played Owl's Lounge down in Davenport on the River Drive. It used to be there. I don't know if it's still there or not, but I was underage, and it's a bar, and the guy that was at the door was a off-duty cop. And so he looked at me and he goes, I know you're not old enough, so if I see you take a drink, you're out of here, right? So I stayed up. I played there for at least a year, I think, underage, and as long as I didn't drink, I was okay.
Yeah, yeah. You stayed under the radar, huh?
Under the radar, yes.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the band, the Contents Are, had released the album that you mentioned and gotten some airplay on the local radio. So they were
KSTT radio in Davenport.
right. So they were getting some momentum.
Yeah. Well, I was surprised when they called me because I thought this is a joke. One of my buddies is putting me on. There were two big bands in Davenport at the time. It was the Contents Are and the Night People. And so, I thought, geez, it's a joke, right? But no, they wanted me down there to audition, so I did.
Yeah.
Got it.
and you passed the audition. Well,
I,
there must have been some good chemistry there right from the start.
yeah. Well, Craig Hoot was the main guy that wrote all the music. And so when I came in, I wrote a couple things, but my songs weren't quite developed yet. So we only did a couple of mine. And Dave Newman was the lead guitar, and Paul Stack, who you'll hear about later, played drums for that band. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you mentioned reading your bio the Hofner bass that you played. Yeah, the German-made Hofner bass. In doing these interviews, I've heard that come up a few times.
Have you?
Yes.
Have you? Yeah. Well, it's nice and light, and it stays in tune forever.
Right. UK artist in particular that mentioned that. Yeah, mentioned. I don't know if this is going to come up. If it doesn't, I'll do a picture and pick later on when I do the editing. But I don't know if you can.
Oh, Hofner Blue Notes.
Hofner Blue Notes. Chris Rea. Rea. Yeah. Fool If You Think It's Over. Remember the big hit he had and everything. Yeah. So this is I got this a while back, but it's kind of a retro. It's got a couple of vinyl albums in here, and then it's got like 4 CDs that look like 45s.
Oh,
see that?
Yeah.
But it's done. It's got old pictures and stuff like that. So it's going for that retro kind of look. But it's nice. It's nice. But I thought of that when I was reading about the Hofner, and that's what they're
Well, I
playing.
started out with a fake Hofner, and the sound wasn't that great, right? It was a violin shape, but it wasn't a Hofner. Yeah. And so I ordered one. The guys got me to order one from this guy, Texas Slim Ritchie in Texas. Lubbock.
In Texas. Oh, okay.
And so I got one in '68. Got that Hofner. Ever since then, I've been using Hofner.
Wow. Okay. You swear by them. Whereabouts in Texas? Whereabouts in Texas did he live?
Lubbock.
Oh, Lubbock. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, home to a lot of great musicians and guitarists up there in that area too. Well, speaking of Ides of March, I did speak with Bob Berglund, who was in the band back in August. And you did mention that you went to Chicago and talked to the. Do you remember the producer's name? I don't. I was looking back and trying to
I
find out.
can't remember.
I
It's been
can't
so
remember.
long ago.
Yeah, I
But
couldn't.
yeah, they invited us to Columbia Studios to record a few
Yeah,
songs. I don't know whatever happened to those recordings, but
yeah, yeah. They're in the vault somewhere. Maybe
yeah, maybe.
they would be nice to be unearthed at some point. Well, why the move to Colorado?
I don't know. We were doing really well, making money. I could even pay off my car and all that stuff. And then the guys decided they wanted to go to Colorado. They thought that for some reason they thought there was more of an opportunity there. I don't see it now. Looking back, I go, we had no connections. We didn't have a manager at that time. We may have hooked up with somebody because we got an opening for. You remember Sugarloaf, the
Yes, I
band?
do.
We
Yes, I do.
opened for them, and Lydia Pence and Cold Blood. We opened for them, and
Yeah,
then just
yeah.
pretty much I ended up working in factories, making money to try to pay the rent.
So nobody had a connection there in Colorado.
No, no, apparently not. We
Yeah.
just did.
Wow.
We,
Okay.
yeah,
Wow. Yeah. Green Eyed Lady and Don't Call Us, We'll Call You. Oh yeah.
right,
Great tracks. Great tracks.
yeah.
Well, whose idea was to change the band's name to Tabernash?
Those guys went on vacation. I was sick. I can't remember what happened, but I didn't go with them. And the other three went to this town called Tabernash, which is out in the flatlands behind the Rocky Mountains.
Okay.
And they thought, oh, that's a great name. They didn't ask me, and I said, all right, whatever. It's kind of like I was the youngest guy in the group. I
Yeah.
probably looked 5 years younger than I really was anyway. And so they just said, that's what we're going to call the group now. Looking back and talking to those guys, they thought it was kind of a dumb idea.
Right.
Um, but it's what we did. So yeah, that's when I got the call from John Ludke when I was working in these factories. And I'm thinking, here's a chance to go on the road, play music as a living instead of
Yeah.
working in ski boot factory. I had a baby stroller factory. So I got tired of, a working life there.
Yeah.
And so John invited me to come and join their band because their bass player was leaving.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
that meant John Ludke, his brother Kim Ludke, and the guitar player was Mark Zaptel, who they're all still well, no, I'm sorry, Kim is in New Mexico, but John and Mark are still in Davenport.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but they invited me to come when we worked up some songs because they knew that I knew a bunch of the stuff they were doing, the cover songs, and the ones I didn't know, I faked and did pretty well because I could listen to the record and hear what they were kind of doing. And then Mark decided to leave the band,
Okay.
the lead guitar player. And
Yeah.
so then that's when Ken Wiles, who sold us those stinky horns
Yeah. That's right.
from that little thing, and he sold us the horns, and we got him in uh, to play lead and do vocals. Mark
Yeah.
didn't sing much, so it was nice to have
Yeah.
another vocalist. Strangely enough, Kim, the drummer, sang too. So we had four vocalists in the group at that time.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
then we decided we were going to go in the studio and record. We had a manager called Art Stenstrom. We
Uh-huh.
called him Art Smart, and he got us into a studio in I think it was Warrensburg, Missouri, close to I don't know St. Louis or something. I,
Okay.
I didn't look it up, but anyway, yeah, he got us into the studio and we recorded an album called Handle with Care. It
Right.
was all original music.
Right.
John and I had written all of it together, and so that in our we would sell them off stage when we play at
Yeah.
these different clubs, and come on, get our album. They'd buy our album and stuff. So for some reason, when we recorded the second, oh, I should say, let's see, Kim was still in the group. He left right during the recording of that
Okay.
Handle with Care. So we got Paul Stack, who I mentioned from Contents R, in.
Right.
But we were
Right.
still all Davenport boys at that time, and so we recorded a second album called Sailing on Fantasies,
Right.
and kind of had a psychedelic cover, and it was all this, it's pretty good music. We got pretty good reviews on a lot of things. It got really big in Texas for some reason.
Is that right? Really?
That's what I
Okay.
heard anyway. A lot of radio airplay. I
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
$14 or something from BMI. And what question?
Oh yeah. No, I was going to ask you about do you recall the recording sessions for either album?
The first one was in the studio that Art found was in Warrensburg, I think Warrensburg, Missouri, and their forte was Christian bands or Christian vocals groups. So I thought the music kind of was light, in the bass department. So the second album we recorded in a place in Cedar Falls, Cedar Rapids. They're a pretty big name, and for some reason it went off. I'll think of it by the time we finish this talk, I'm sure.
Okay.
But we recorded another album, Sailing on Fantasies, there.
Okay, there. Yeah, I was going to mention about Sailing on Fantasies. Many fans and critics prefer this release to the first.
Yeah.
Very, very Beatlesque, I have to say. And you hear those, the Beatles, in what am I trying to say? Influence in that. I read one review, and I agree with this, saying that it was the best Emmett Rhodes album Emmett never released.
I still have his album here somewhere. Emmett Rhodes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
What's funny is because we took that album to New York, John and I did, to try to sell it, and we had a guy from Atlantic Records, an A&R guy, and he says, "You guys do a Beatles set?" Yeah, and he goes, "You sound like the Beatles. Come back with your own set." So it's like, oh, right through the heart. Yeah, but we had done two Beatle 1 hour Beatle tributes with films and slides on both sides of the stage. And then when we were changing instruments, we'd have the Beatles that we clipped from different things talking while we changed, instruments.
Right.
And it was we're kind of in the dark area. We didn't dress up like them, and we didn't, wear Beatle outfits and things. We just did music. What was I going to say about that? It got us through the whole disco era.
Oh, right.
Yeah, when John Travolta came on stage and did that, all these clubs were getting rid of their bands and started, paying once for a sound system and then playing records. Right. And so because we had something different, we were able to keep playing through all those times. We did learn a couple of what do you say, disco tunes, Casey and the Sunshine Band, and Fire. I don't know if you remember that song.
Yes.
The Ohio Players, I think it was.
Oh yeah.
And a couple others, and kept us going.
Remember Love Roller Coaster?
Yeah, we didn't do that one.
Okay. At the time it came out, do you remember?
Hope that wasn't a favorite because we didn't do it.
No. At the time it came out, I don't know if you remember hearing this rumor. You can hear screaming in it, like when they're going down the roller coaster, I guess.
Yeah.
And they said somebody came up with this rumor that there was a lady actually being stabbed to death in the background while they were recording that in the studio. And some people believed it. And at first I was like, I don't think so. Me and my friend were like, it doesn't sound realistic. And turned out it was just, trying to sell the album,
Yeah.
You know how they come up with things like that. So,
sure.
Yeah, weird. This is weird. This just happened.
Doesn't make sense. Yes.
Right. This just happened. Okay.
If it was Steve Miller, I might think so because he loves sound effects, but not those guys.
Right. I just got a message, talking about Emmett Rhodes, right?
Yeah.
And it just popped up from Messenger with Terry Ray. I just spoke with Terry yesterday, and he replaced Emmett in the Palace Guard.
Oh.
And I mean, his message just popped up. It's not gonna show on the video, but it just popped up.
Was he watching this, or is this live?
I don't know. Maybe he's tuned in. I don't know. I thought
this live or Memorex.
Is it right? And so I thought that was really anyway. But he did replace Emmett in the Palace Guard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, Emmett, I've got a couple of his CDs. I love his solo material. Sad that he passed away young.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah. Well, what was the idea behind Double Shot? And that was you and Ken.
Well, around 19, what was it, 1979, the Silver Laughter, we were breaking up. Well, we weren't, what happened was, okay, we had Paul Stack, who was also singing for us, singing background and harmonies and things. And he decided he was going to leave and Kim was going to come back.
Okay.
And so it would have been John and Kim against Ken and myself against, that sounds bad. But anyway, we decided that we just didn't want to, we had all these plans to change our image and do all this and do that, change the name of the band from Silver Laughter to something else. And Ken and I had been talking to this person, this woman that was doing duos with, it was called Dodie and Jack, I think. They were called Two of Us, and they do little clubs. So we hooked up with her manager, Dodie Hungerbuehler, and she turned us on to the guy, I forget his name, the manager, and he put us, Ken and I, into these different clubs. I don't know if he was trying to see what we would, where we would fit, but we get into like Sault Ste. Marie, and they wanted country and western. So Ken and I whipped up a couple of, Johnny Cash and some Elvis and some other stuff that they could accept. And then he put us in a disco band, a disco club. And then it's like pretty soon, by the time we got to, I think it was Escanaba, Michigan, which is on the Upper Peninsula, we decided we've had enough. We've had enough. And so in the middle of a winter snowstorm, we decided to go to California. My sister was living in Point Reyes, which is north of San Francisco a little bit, in Marin County. And so we went there and got jobs.
Okay, you got a real job.
Yeah, and I played with a group called what we call the Secrets.
The Secrets, right?
And we played a couple of clubs like Berkeley Square and a couple of. It was all kind of new wave punk music.
Yeah,
and it didn't really go anywhere, and so eventually we dropped out.
Okay. Well, speaking of Elvis, did you watch the new? I think it's Netflix, the documentary about the 1968 concert.
No.
The one that was on TV. He's all in black leather. Yeah, I guess it just came out not too long. It was this year anyway. But really interesting if you get a chance to, because it has a lot of commentary from different people. Bruce Springsteen was one that was coming, talking about it, but how his career, had he'd sold out, doing all those big movies, and singing songs that he shouldn't have been singing, and then they said, well, to revitalize his career, he needs some kind of a live show, a big show. And it really did give him an injection,
Was that Las Vegas?
I'm trying to think, was it? I think it might have been. It's the one it's got Elvis in big red letters behind him. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I was never really a fan of Elvis. I liked a couple of his songs, but Beatles.
Right.
When the Beatles hit in '64, that was it for me. I'm like, oh, I got to be in the band. And of course, everybody else in the Quad Cities wanted to be in a band also. So it was like everybody, what do you do? Oh, I'm in a band, So
you're right.
Yeah, back in the '60s.
Yeah.
Right. Even the guy at Dog and Suds was in band.
Everybody was in band at that time. Well, then, so kind of the music thing kind of dried up for you.
Yes.
You got into, how'd you get into computers?
I was doing my laundry and there was a sign on the bulletin board that if you take this class and get a student loan, they'll give you a computer. I went, oh, okay. They'll give me a computer, huh? So I signed up for the course, and of course you had to stick through it I think it was 12 lessons or something before you get the computer. So they wanted to make sure that you were serious about it. So I got the computer, and then I started working at different places like Software Etc. and Electronics Boutique and a bunch of different retail outlets, and got to be a manager at Electronics Boutique. And then I got hired away by, I can't remember who, I think it was a company called Memory Chips, but that didn't last long. And then, so I decided to go out on my own and start doing, fixing computers, upgrading them, doing that kind of stuff as a business. So I did that for, a little while. And then something happened where I hooked up with a recruiter And she got me into, I think it was GE Capital, which was out in Marin County. They had a big office as a project manager. And that's when I went contracting, which is where I made most of my money, was doing contract work. Charles Schwab, B of A, Wells Fargo, GE, Commerce One, a whole bunch of different companies, but they last, what, a year or whatever. And so what happened was, at the end, I was at Charles Schwab, and it was the dot-com bust. You remember that?
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
so they canceled my contract over Christmas, which was, Merry Christmas to you, Mick.
Right,
Bye. And
right.
so
That's a
I
god
was with
awful time.
Janice,
Yeah, that's a
my
god
partner
awful.
Janice at the time, and she's in real estate. So she says, well, it might not be a good idea, but why don't you come work for me and see if we can, work it out. So I did. I worked for her real estate company for quite a few years.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
What'd you do there? Did you enjoy that kind of
I
work?
did upgrade, I did a lot of computer stuff, got her organized, got her,
Set up.
yeah, just computer stuff that, people would normally do with computers, is mailing, made sure the newsletter went out, made sure,
Oh,
that kind of stuff.
okay.
Wasn't real heady work. Wasn't real.
Well, if I have any tech issues, I'll give
Yeah,
you
right.
a,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'll
check with
refer you.
No, my wife does that.
Okay.
She's the technology minded person.
Yeah.
Anything I have, and she'll just fix it in a flash. I'm like, why didn't I think of that? But
Yeah, really. Yeah.
yeah, I think the girls maybe have an aptitude for that. Well, so then in 2014, Silver Laughter was inducted into the Iowa Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yes.
That must have been a pretty proud moment.
It was. Yeah. I don't know if we were expecting it, but we kept getting people to try to, you know, they do it by, people have to refer you and bring you in. So nobody from that area, Quad Cities, had come much. I don't think they actually had anybody from that area. And we said, well, what about us? What about Silver Laughter? We did 2 albums, we did this, we did that. And they finally go, okay. And so, yeah, 2014, we came in, and what they did was we brought all many members that wanted to come in. So it was John, Kim, me, Mark Zoptel, and was there anybody else? Well, other people got mentioned, but I don't think anybody else came and played. Oh, Paul Stack, him again, yes, Paul, and he drummed, and then Kim, who was a master of all kinds of instruments, banjo, guitar. He played guitar and backed up on vocals. So yeah, it was a good time. We played a 20-minute concert. There's some recordings, visual recordings of us up on YouTube when we did the concert, but I think the sound quality sucked because we didn't have our own sound man. We had, we had them do the sound, and then the guys that recorded us didn't have a, good sound system to record on. It was a handheld,
Oh, one of those, yeah.
Yeah. So, it was there. We were there, and in this audience was Tom Kelly, the guy who was in Todd Beat Group.
Right, right.
And so I got off stage and I was talking to the guys not Tom, but the other guys, and saying, well, we've got a lot of material that Ken and I had written after we left Silver Laughter. And why don't we record another album? There we go. Nah, don't want to do it. It was crickets, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's real
So I went to Tom and I said, God, we have all this music. And Tom goes, well, long distance, we can probably do something, right? I said, yeah, actually, with the internet, we should be able to trade tracks back and forth and write music and do that. So since we had I think it was 14 songs left over, Ken and I did, that we recorded an album called, since we dropped Silver Laughter, we dropped the laughter and went with Silvers. Right. It was called After the Laughter.
Right. That's aptly named title. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was kind of a low budget recording. We had a guy that was doing the mixing and mastering back in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And we had gotten, since it was only Tom and I, we got, let's see, our Silver Laughter sound man, Glenn Stone, is a drummer.
Okay.
We brought him in to play drums. Then this guy contacted us from Atlanta that was in a group called Radio Cult. And Ricky and he came in and did a lot of rhythm and lead parts for that album. So there were four of us again. We were all spread out because I was in California. Tom was in the west side of Wisconsin. Glenn was in the east side of Wisconsin, and Ricky was in Atlanta. And so we just passed tracks back and forth across the internet for that album. And then the guy, I'm sorry, I missed his name, uh, put them together, mixed and mastered, did editing, and did all kinds of crazy stuff and made them sound better than they really sounded.
Wow, right.
Yeah.
Well, how long were you passing them back and forth? How long did it take when you first started until it was finished?
Well, what year was After the Laughter? Probably 6 months, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that. And then what happened? Well, we recorded that, and then we recorded a what's EP in Europe. EPs were really big. They're four-sided, or four songs on two sides of a 45 record played at 33 and a third,
right,
to get more time. And they're not popular here, so obviously it didn't go over. But we had, four more songs, or was it four more songs or six more songs? And we recorded that and sent them to a guy called Stuart Epps in the UK to mix and master. He worked with Elton John, George Harrison, Led Zeppelin, a bunch of big names. And I thought he made him sound really good, but Ricky wasn't happy with him. So we went back to the original guy that we'd used on After the Laughter and had him put it together. And then we put out an EP called End of Summer.
Okay. And there was also a single around that same time too, I believe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That the two songs on the on that EP was Keep On Believing and Looking Good. And as a matter of fact, recently those two songs were picked up for a movie called Manifest West. So they've been used in that one. So we have an IMDb, recognition that we're part of the sound sound department. Way off in the back. Here they are. You can barely hear the songs, but at least we got in.
Well, you got
one of them, they're playing it while they're in the car, and the radio is playing one of the songs. And they're in a restaurant eating, and they're playing off the jukebox one of the other songs.
Oh, is that right?
I can't remember which is which, but yeah, it was a lot of fun to get recognized that way. But it took a couple of years to do that.
Yeah.
So since then, we'd recorded a whole bunch of other music, and it just kind of came around that these songs had been placed with a company called Expressive Artists. And the guys, the Gibson, I'm not sure who made the decision. It was Milo and Louis Gibson, Mel Gibson's sons, that made that movie, Manifest West. One of them was in it, and one of them either produced it or directed it. I can't remember. But I don't know if they made the decision when they heard those songs, but they decided to pick them up for that movie.
Include them in there, yeah. Well, talk about I found this interesting. Talk about the animated videos in Randall Bishop.
Oh, yes. Well, that was another, Ricky got us hooked up with the animator, Randall Bishop, in Atlanta. And Ricky said, well, at least, we won't have to perform live. We'll have these characters. They never get old. They never get fat. They never get stupid. It's just like they'll always be the Silvers in cartoon. Now, there's a guy in UK that does a radio show and our podcast called Oliver Shawn, and it's WOA FM 99 is his baby, and he thinks they look like Archie's, the Archie comics, and he loves Archie comics, so it's like okay, So yes, we did a whole bunch of animated videos because we could never get together to play live because everybody is all over the place.
Right.
So let's see, where am I here? Ricky left. We got Drew Young's. I had to connect with him when I called the record plant in San Francisco to try to get somebody to produce us. And he came in and actually did a lot of work on a lot of our music up till he left in, I don't know, I don't remember the date. But yeah, he did a lot of production on this from the album Play. I don't know if you saw that Play
Yeah.
on. He was in until Rushmore, the album, and then he left because I wanted to play live. So, and I thought, well, what am I going to do now? I've got, Glenn had quit because they were altering his tracks so much. So he, as a drummer, he was insulted that they had made that many changes to his drum parts.
Right.
And so he was gone. Tom and I were still together, and we said, well, what are we going to do? So I decided that I was going to try to put together a live band. I lived in California at the time. And so I searched the internet for guys that were local. That's where I met Dane.
Oh, all right.
Dane Bedford Pugh.
Yeah.
And I met a guy named Steve Farrack. And then he introduced me to a drummer, Carl Up the Grove.
Okay.
And so the four of us recorded our first album called Back to Basics. So we kept it real simple. We didn't do a whole lot of overdubs on that one. But Steve had too many family issues and problems, so he left, and then it was just the three of us, and that's where we've been since then as a threesome.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask you about the personnel changes, but you kind of gone over those. Yeah. Well, it's hard to keep the same, like you said, life gets in the way sometimes,
Well, we put together the band, and then COVID hit.
Yeah. And
All the venues were closed.
Right.
So I was like, geez, now what are we going to do now? So we recorded the album to kind of, because we'd written this music to do. So that's how we got started with that.
Yeah. Well, going back to the animation, what was Silver's Surf City?
Drew woke up with this dream about Silver Surf City.
Okay.
He said the band, we kind of developed it over a little bit of time, but what happened was the band was supposed to be flying to a concert to benefit hurricane victims. He got caught up in their own hurricane. The plane landed on an island. Turns out it was an alternate universe where there were people that had disappeared over time. We never got to Amelia Earhart, but we did get their Black Bart and fish and animals all walked and talked on land.
Okay.
And so it was just kind of a whatever. I think we recorded 4 episodes of that with us talking. There's dialogue along with edited versions of songs.
Yeah.
To go with the and so that's how that came about, was that we were going to do this with the guy John Mackay from he did sound for Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, right.
And he's a friend of Drew's, and so he offered to do a cartoon series, but by the end of the cartoon series we separated on artistic grounds because he wanted to change too much of what the Silvers were. He wanted to get kids and he wanted to get this and that. And I thought, well, by the time we're done, we're not the Silvers anymore. So
yeah.
So we did 4 episodes, put them up on YouTube at youtube.com/The Silvers Music, which is our channel up there, and along with all our other music videos. And so that's how Silver Surf City came about.
Okay. And it was never picked up
No, never picked up. They approached Disney and they approached a couple of them. Disney thought it was too not cream puff enough. I don't know how you say it, but they thought it had too much of an edge. And when you watch them, you go, really? An edge? Oh, okay, whatever. So it's their decision, their money. So
that's how
nothing came of that. Yeah.
Well, the album Paper Street is on the ballot for the 67th Grammy Awards. And in what category?
Best rock album.
Okay. Wow. Well, that's something there.
Yeah.
That
is something. Yeah. Right. There's a lot of competition for that spot, obviously. So, obviously. I don't even know if the Grammys have happened yet or not. But we're pretty far down the ballot.
Well, I mean, at least kudos to you guys to get on the ballot. A
little bit of recognition.
That's right.
And I am famous. I am the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for Iowa, also.
That's right. There you go, exactly. Because not a whole lot of bands, coming out of or have come out of that state, over the years. And I talked to a guy the other day from Rhode Island, and I was like, "Yeah, were you the only band ever?"
Oh yeah.
Right. It's like, wow. No, he said
Yeah.
there were a few others. There were a few,
We're
but
there. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, there were
yeah.
a couple of good bands from Iowa. The Hawks, I think, was the name of one of them, and that was the guy that recorded us in where Waterloo or wherever it was that we recorded "Sailing on Fantasies."
Oh, okay, okay, the
So
Hawk.
yeah, his band was called, I think it was called the Hawks, and Frank Wewell is his name.
Okay.
You might look him up.
Okay, I will look him. I will. Well, and then a new animated videos upcoming for the regular Christmas season collaboration. My Christmas Wish.
Yes,
You do that every year?
we haven't. We up till 2 years ago, we hadn't done any Christmas videos.
Oh,
We just always did a. We always had done a Christmas song just about every year since 2014, and we'd write a song and record it and release it, but we never really thought of doing an animation. So I think Christmas Rock was, I think, the first one we did. Um, Randy came up with the storyboard, and we just kind of went along with it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's no
Well,
dialogue. It's all just music.
I'll
It's the
just
song, but it's got Santa and the elves, and then there are dwarves that are digging coal. Santa's a mean guy. He keeps the guys in the coal
right.
bin, to keep the power on up in the North Pole. So
Oh yeah,
that's kind of what it was about.
you gotta have
And
them
and
working to do
yeah,
that.
and the
Yeah.
dwarf hits a diamond. He gets a diamond, so he becomes rich. And it's
Ah,
pretty cute
okay.
video.
Okay.
And I
Well,
think, yeah,
that's something. Yeah, that's something upcoming to look forward to. Yeah, and so for the kids and adults.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, what else is going on or is in the works or you'd like to
Well, we
mention
started
or
working on a new album, and it's the working title is Facing Forward, Looking Back.
okay.
Um, Came up, our drummer, Carl Up the Grove, has these wisdom, it's, oh, and so let's see, our last album, Paper Street, was Dane's
Okay.
idea. Before that, it was called Mosaic. That was Carl Up the Grove, and so he's constantly coming up with these little sayings and things. So we just use it. We go with it, you know. Working title, okay. Yeah.
Right,
So
right, right.
I think we've written 6 songs for the new album that we're going to release next year.
Okay. Okay. All right. You guys get together or is this going to be like swapping tracks and things like that?
No, what we've been doing since I met these other guys, Carl and Dane, I've been flying back to California and recording. We
Okay.
rehearse for a couple days, then go to the studio for a couple days, and then we
Okay.
spend one day doing uh, overdubs or vocal tuning.
Oh, got
So yeah, I go back and we just do it there. And usually it takes, because you can only do so many songs,
right.
so we do about 6 the first time and 6 the second time. So we come up with 10 or 12 songs for the album.
Okay. Okay. How about the Beatles tributes and things like that? You still doing that?
No, no,
No.
we did that back in the 70s. So we don't do that
Okay.
anymore.
Don't do that anymore. Okay. All right. And well, anything else that you like to plug or mention or bring up? Something that we might have omitted or forgot to bring
Well,
up?
our website is, www.thesilversmusic.com, facebook.com/the Silvers Music. We kind of get stuck to the Silvers Music as
Right.
our tagline. So that's what we use, Twitter or X now, and Facebook and our website, and just about any, I think even SoundCloud and all those different places. We're soundcloud.com/the Silvers Music.
Well, okay, then I appreciate it, Mick. Anyway, people have your website, the website for the Silvers, and check out, you guys update and post new things as they develop, right? On
Yeah, we
there.
do all the time. Yeah, we're posting all the time.
Okay, so people can check that out. And I will send you a copy of this probably a week, maybe a week, a couple of days.
Okay.
Once I edit a little bit, and then you can post it there on the website
Oh, absolutely.
and see what kind of traction, see what kind of
Sounds
reaction
good.
you get. And all the best to you. And do stay in touch and keep me posted on any new developments too.
All right.
All
Thank
right.
you.
All right, Mick. All the best to you. Okay.
All right.
All
Bye
right.
now.
All right. Bye for now.
Right at this moment, I can view everything all at once. All possibilities that could melt this indifference. I'm standing on the edge of the world. I can see forever. Watching all in wonder. Standing on the edge of the world. In the right state of mind, I'm sure you can find all you need. The puzzle pieces will find their places, you will see. I'm standing on the edge of the world. I can see forever. Makes me feel so empty. Standing on the edge of the world. So profound, it makes me feel so small. Floating seamlessly above it all. All the world laid out for me, facing an eternity, standing on the edge of the world. I'm standing on the edge of the world. I can see forever. Watch it all in wonder. Standing on the edge of the world. So profound, it makes me feel so small. Floating seamlessly above it all. All the world laid out for me, facing an eternity, standing on the edge of the world. Right at this moment, I can view everything all at once. All possibilities that could end this intolerance.